I'd like to call to order the February 1st meeting of the Inspector Committee at 9:07. Change that.
Okay, and if we could, we'll do a roll call in the room first, and then I'll read off names on the phone to the best I can. So,
I'll start with myself, Stephen Reinhardt, Chair of the committee.
Diana Rose.
Brad Phillips.
Michael Malloy, Staff Attorney.
Bill Jones.
Mark Morris, Standards and Enforcement Services.
Gwen Jackson, ELS Division.
Tony Slagle, Government Affairs.
Jennifer Wheeler, Education Manager.
Mike Sample Deal, Education Specialist.
Lee Warren.
Okay, and then, like I said, I'll just read off some names. Kristen Warman.
Present.
Okay. Doyle Williamson. Okay.
I'm here.
All right. Matt Hart.
Here.
Dr. Barbara Evans.
Here.
Greg Eakin.
Here.
And I know Brian Woods was not going to be able to make it. I believe that's the entire committee, isn't it?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I think so.
It is. And we have one vacant.
No, that's, Mr. Williamson was not going to be here. There should be 9 on that list.
Okay.
Who else? Okay.
Lee.
Yeah,
Lee.
Lee's here.
Tony.
Lee is here. He already said
Okay.
he's here. Okay, and then in terms of people listening in, it looks like the Roebucks are on the line. And is there anyone else?
Stan and Donna Harbuck.
Okay. Anyone else?
And here's Ben Harbuck. Here's Ben Harbuck.
Ben Harbuck? Okay, I believe that's
Yeah.
it. Okay, thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is the election of officers. So,
Yes.
I'll make a motion. I nominate Steve as president. Or chairman.
President.
President,
Chairman.
It is caucus day.
I'll second. Correct.
Caucus
okay,
is-
Greg seconded.
Okay, so I've got a motion by Brad. And a second by Greg. Any other nominees?
Are there any other nominees?
Okay.
All right, we want to,
I guess,
do we want to vote, we'll vote separately or all together? Do we just,
let's, oh, you mean as far
okay,
as phone
yeah.
in here?
No.
No, as far as all the offices.
Let's do this one first.
Okay.
And then we'll do the subcommittees.
Okay. All those in favor of Stephen Reinhardt continuing as chair, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay.
Okay. Okay, the 3 committees.
Oh, we need to do co-chair and, or vice chair and
Vice
secretary.
chair. Secretary.
Secretary.
Okay. Are there any nominations for vice chair?
I nominate Lee Warren for vice chair.
I'll second that.
All right.
Okay.
Mr. Warren for vice chair, it's been seconded.
Any other?
Anyone else have any nominations?
Okay. All those in favor of Lee as vice chair of the inspector committees? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And
3 on the phone. Okay.
secretary.
Secretary. Any nominations for secretary? Can I nominate?
Sure.
I nominate Ms. Diana as secretary for the inspector committee.
Second.
All right. Diana Rose nominated in second. Any other nominations for secretary?
Kind of quiet out there.
It is quiet.
Okay, all those in favor of Diana Rose as secretary?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
All right. Great.
it's gonna go pretty quick.
Okay. Next is the ratification of the minutes. I did send the link out for that video. The secretary made some corrections, and then we put them on the website. If you guys had any corrections about those video minutes, let me know.
What corrections did you have?
The corrections I have were sometimes where he fixes it, where it says that it's line item 7, or somebody starts to speak, it'll go to the wrong place in the video. So
I
those
did.
corrected.
I corrected. There were some
Yeah, so
timestamps that were
all the
wrong.
ones are corrected.
I had mistakenly
I
said.
think that whole concept of being able to do that
Right.
Yeah.
is amazing, rather than trying to drag it across there and see where you're at.
Tony makes it pretty easy.
Yes, sir.
This is Stan. I'm sorry. I'm having trouble hearing the conversation for some reason. It used to be louder in these meetings. I'm not sure if that's on my end or...
Yeah, I don't know. The mic is on, so it should be working. Well, here, let me move the phone. Actually, that's where you're going to be able to hear stuff. Is anyone else having any issues?
Tony, we can.
It's just very weak sound.
We'll try to.
Tony, we can hear. Tony, this is Kristen.
Yes, ma'am.
We can hear you. We can hear you fine,
Okay.
but when others start to speak, it becomes very difficult to hear them. Do you have the extenders attached to the phone?
I don't have the extenders.
We'll try to speak up. It's good for Tony because he's right in front of it, but we'll try to speak up from this end of the table.
And
Okay, and
I'll
if you could make sure and repeat the motions whenever they're made.
okay.
Okay.
So right now we're discussing any corrections to the minutes on the video minutes.
Is that for both?
No, and I'll tell you why there was a difference in the way they presented. Since that meeting in December had a specific agenda and it was dealing with education courses,
Right.
General Counsel felt it was probably better to just have those written, and so we did it that way for you guys, in the old way for you guys to approve those as written. Those aren't posted yet; they'll be posted after you approve them today. So there's the video minutes of the October meeting, and then the written minutes from that education-specific meeting we had in December.
And the written minutes are on. Did we see those?
Yeah, they're part of the materials.
Oh, they were? Okay.
Yes.
Because I went through them and I thought maybe they weren't very long.
No, they weren't.
Yeah,
They're two
okay.
pages. And Gwen just let me know there was one correction in that Mike Deal's name is misspelled, and that will be corrected going forward.
Do you want separate motions for those minutes?
Well, yeah, one's ratification and one is approval. So one would be a motion to ratify the video minutes on October 5th.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so there's a motion to ratify the video minutes that are posted on the website for the October 5th, 2015 meeting. And it's been seconded.
All those in favor of ratifying the October 5th video minutes, say aye.
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 Any opposed? I've only got one. I think I got one. Dr. Evans, I heard on the video.
Is there anyone opposed to ratifying the minutes, the video minutes? Okay. And then the second motion would be to approve the written minutes.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay.
All those in favor of approving the written minutes for the December 4th meeting, the Inspector Committee, say aye.
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 Okay, I think that's everybody.
Tony, just to be clear, that's to approve as corrected.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, that's to approve as corrected. Thank you, Kristen.
The name spelling?
Yes. All right.
Okay, so now we're on to number 4. It's general comments from visitors. We have One visitor.
And we-
Any agenda items?
We have visitors on the
And we have
floor, too.
visitors, okay, we're doing these in the office first. Any comments from visitors of non-agenda items that are on the telephone? Again, are there any comments on non-agenda items from anyone on the telephone?
None from me.
Okay,
All right.
guess we're up to reports from subcommittees.
The first one would be Mike.
Is that staff reports or something?
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right, I apologize. Subcommittee reports, I don't know if we have any.
Did you, anything from enforcement, Brad?
No, sir. Staff is doing a wonderful job on our enforcement.
Greg, any update on training? Subcommittee. Greg?
Education.
Education, that's what I meant, education.
No, we took care of that in the last, committee meeting, because that's been the last 3 months, we've worked on that a lot. But
Okay,
nothing since our last committee meeting.
okay. SOP, standard?
We're good right now.
Well, it's been a quiet month.
Holidays and.
Are we gonna shuffle those around? Are we gonna keep everybody on the same committee?
I didn't see that on here, if there's
That's
an opportunity.
That's something for you to do as the
I can
chair.
just do, okay.
Yeah, it's your prerogative to assign the committees.
But it's not part of.
No, because there's no real action, it's just you, if you want to be on the record, you can do it now, or you can do it,
No problem. Off to-
well, and they'll be posted on the website, and sent out via email and everything. But if you want to do it now, you
I'll
can,
put it on my personal server.
okay.
Okay, now with staff reports.
All right.
So this is Mike Malloy, staff attorney, liaison. From the materials, it shows basically the first page, the green on top, that's since the last inspector committee meeting. And the last 2 pages represent so far the full fiscal year. So we've had 5 disciplinary actions taken since, one came in yesterday, but it's not added on this report, but it'll be on the next report. 5 since the last inspector meeting. I'm here if anyone has any questions. Some are look pretty substantial, so.
I see 2 of them are,
That was the same, are you talking about the failure to report?
right,
It's the same individual.
but it was not the same
It was 4 different
inspections.
4 different times,
Wow.
at least that we found. At least people that filed complaints. He's had, we had contact later on from family members, and it was something probably medically or something related. So.
Okay. And the one engaging in the practice that involves deceit?
Oh, well, in that situation, an individual was advertising that they did hydrostatic testing, but he did not ever perform it. But, as an inspector, you're not technically allowed to do that unless you have a plumber's license, and the individual did not have a plumber's license. So. And he didn't have insurance. His insurance was not current at the time. So.
But he is an inspector.
He's inspector, yeah. Are you talking about the
Second one.
the deceitful one?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, he was a professional inspector.
Of course, most of them don't even realize you have to have seller's permission now as part of the new contract to even do the hydro.
Yeah, well, this was from a couple of years ago. They settled in civil court as well, so.
Yes, sir.
For my edification, can I ask this group and whoever's on the line that are inspectors, how many calls you're getting for these types of tests? We're seeing a lot of these, let me start over. I'm seeing a lot of reports from Lubbock and Amarillo on problems surrounding these types of requests and being brought to the commission for further action on our part, and I tend to agree with Mr. Malloy that this is a plumber issue. I'd love for you to tell me what I don't know, because I don't know what I don't know.
I had never heard of it
I-
until we got that email.
Well, I'm seeing more of it coming out of inspectors out of the Panhandle, but I'm also seeing it coming out of inspectors in the Austin, San Antonio area, where every time they do an older house that's got cast iron, they're recommending further investigation and hydrostatic testing.
But only as a referral, though, not
Yes.
undertaking.
But they're recommended it as a deficiency in their report.
Now, again, I don't know what I don't know. Tell me how you feel about that as a referral, just based on, what I think I heard you say was based on the age or the elements of the house. That was what was causing them to do that. Was there anything else?
As a
that you do to it?
routine, what I'm seeing on the ones that I'm hearing about, running into, is where there's cast iron. If there's a cast iron vent pipe, they're saying we would recommend further investigation and hydrostatic testing by a plumber due to potential failure of cast iron unit lines.
And
Cast iron drain lines.
I personally had a couple houses, I did this last month, that were well over 100 years old. And I recommended that they have a plumber come and do like a leak test. I didn't call it hydrostatic, I called it like a leak test because, yeah, half the cast iron, it looks great above, but when you pick it up, there's no bottom to it.
And that's been my experience as a broker, is that the cast iron appears to be healthy and well, but what I hear, my inspector people tell me and the plumbers tell me, is that it tends over its life to slough material from the inside. And then we've got one company, somebody got a camera, that'll come over and they do some kind of high pressure knife cleaning something. But all that does is further shorten the life of the pipe, because you're just removing material.
I mean, it wasn't designed to last 80 years.
That's the conclusion I'm coming to. I'm glad you said it for me, though. I didn't want to
Yes.
put words in your mouth.
I originally was told it had a useful life, especially if it's buried, about 25 or 30 years. That's why it's so thick. They know it's going to rust, that's about how long it takes.
Sacrificial.
And when I see it at 50 or 60 years, unless it's suspended in the air, if it's laying on the ground, odds are the bottom's gone. A lot of it.
Well, I've had 2 different realtors suggest this to their clients, and these are on HUD or foreclosed homes. You know, even though the utilities are on, the realtors have suggested to their clients to have a plumber come out and do a pressure test on it, you know. So I assumed maybe the realtors just all took a class and now they're all going to be
I don't think
suggesting
so. I think
hydrostatic tests.
I think it's what I'm hearing from our friends is that this seems to be a severe issue in the Panhandle.
Okay.
That's where I haven't heard about San Antonio. I'm hearing it all coming from my friends in Etloke and Amarillo. And they want us to, they even presented another form some attorney had drawn up for our opinion. It had an odor to it I didn't particularly care for, so I forwarded it on to general counsel. But
Is the
I'm really
question-
looking for, if you can educate me, I'm at a loss here other than just turning to you
Is
guys.
the question like who can do it, who's
Oh,
qualified?
what's the trigger point, or an age?
Agent.
Age is
Where
what
it's-
age and type of pipe.
Trees.
You gotta remember, cast iron was never, ever designed to hold pressure.
Right.
Never, ever designed to be full of water. At most, it's filled at 50%, at very most.
So where's the name static testing come from?
Hydrostatic testing came in with PVC, an original cast iron that was caulked and milked in, and they haven't done that in 50 years.
This is all a learning curve for me, I
And
apologize.
if you pressure test cast iron, it's gonna fail, I promise you. I'll guarantee you, you can go put a new cast iron in today and pressurize it, and it's gonna leak.
Well, part of the issue is trees is another contributing factor too. If you have a house that has a bunch of trees right in the front, you know it's right along the drain lines a lot of times.
Well, if it's got cast iron or clay, either one. They're gonna
Right,
have roots.
but even if it's PVC, if you got a bunch of trees, big old roots going in the front, somebody's probably gonna call that out because the potential for the root penetration into those drain lines is pretty severe. But the other factor.
If they weren't properly
Right.
glued in the first place.
But the other factor to consider here is FHA changed all their rules September 15th, you know, with appraisals. Okay, the federal government's trying to turn FHA appraisers into inspectors, basically,
Right.
because there's still a number of states that don't have licensing for inspectors. So FHA guidelines now, there's a lot of appraisers that are stopped doing FHA appraisals at all because they're requiring that they crawl under the house. They're requiring that they pull the cover on the electrical panel. They're requiring they go into the attic and do all this other stuff. So a lot of these appraisers, they're going, I'm not doing that. They're going to use a escape clause basically and say, hire a licensed electrician to further evaluate the electrical system. But they're not saying it's okay. They're just saying you have to hire another electrician to do that. And there's part of the plumbing issue is becoming that as well. They see anything that they don't like, they immediately call a plumber.
Well, my first
test.
take on what you just said, though, is I think that's a safe harbor
Right.
for those appraisers to do
Oh,
that, to
yeah,
turn it over to
absolutely.
somebody.
Well,
else
and the
to
same
do it.
thing with the inspectors that are recommending that.
Right, right.
You
But
know,
see,
we're not gonna be responsible for
how
what we
I got
can't see.
involved with this is we were hearing inspectors, this is that complaint that went to the plumber's exam folks, that an inspector in Lubbock was actually
Kenny.
doing some of these.
Kenny, this is Kristen, and while I understand this discussion is something that the commissioner and the inspectors would like to discuss, it's getting a little far afield from the staff reports. And maybe this should be an additional agenda item at a future meeting.
Okay,
Did you get that?
I did.
Okay.
Any other questions? I think this complaint was from the Panhandle Range. And we did call the plumbers board just to go through their rules and talk to their investigators on this case, just to get some more feedback of what went into a hydrostatic line test and, you know, their opinion. Basically, we've already received opinions from them saying you have to be a plumber to do that. But this person had an attorney on the other side, so we needed some rules from the plumbers board to support our clients.
And you got that from them?
Yeah, their investigator was really good. So
Okay. Any other questions on the,
How many do we have that are still pending?
I didn't look.
just this?
There's about 9 or 10 that are open right now.
And what's probably the oldest one?
It's 10 months old, but there's an agreed order out on it. So.
It looks like everything you got is 2015, nothing older than 2015?
Well, yeah. Well, the 16 stuff that would be open. I mean, our fiscal year starts in September, so even if it has a 16 in front of it, it doesn't necessarily mean it was opened in 2016.
Got it. Any progress with the Dallas DA on our friend Mr. Gardner?
We haven't received a complaint on that guy for a long time. So.
But I mean, we were talking about.
We asked him, he said no. That was 2 years ago. So.
Okay. And no other questions on standards and enforcement? Next one.
Gwen Jackson, Director of Education and Licensing Services. This first report that you see is the L1 report, and this report provides us with the number of applications received, licenses issued, and the renewal activity through December, from September through December, in comparison with the same time in 2014. We received 288 total original applications, which is about 57%, almost 57% more than what we received in 2014, which came to 229 total licenses issued from those original applications, which was roughly a 34% increase. And then our renewal activity during this period, 183 individuals renewed their license, which is 67, almost 68% of those who were sent renewal notices actually renewed during this time period.
Question, Gwen?
Yes.
At one point, we talked about changing that last year to date to being 2 years prior instead of 1 year prior, so the cycles would actually, you get a more accurate number on renewals as far as percentages goes for comparison rates.
Okay.
If we could do that, because it's the renewal, because the renewals are every 2 years, it's the number, the percentages are always going to look really out of whack because we're not comparing apples to apples.
Right.
Because it looks like, yeah.
Because it looks like we have a huge drop, and I know we don't.
Because most of them
But
are
the
next.
cycle, once we change to this cycle, everybody didn't renew on the same cycle now.
Well, you renew every 2 years.
I know, but on a 12-month continual basis.
Right, what I'm saying is we're comparing December of 15 to December 14, which isn't an accurate depiction of renewals. You should be doing December of 15 to December of 13.
Renewals only.
You're right,
You want
exactly.
me to change it,
Exactly.
just renewals
Just
only?
renewals.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because in that you'll catch.
Yeah, I understand.
You get a more accurate number of who is
Once the
actually
cycle
renewing.
gets in place, it's gonna be more accurate.
What cycle?
What cycle are you talking about?
Back when we started, everybody renewed on the same time. It was all January 1,
And that's
and when they,
back in the,
way back in,
right.
and so when they went to the change, see, mine still is that cycle.
Right.
And do you remember what year that changed?
Boy, it was in the 90s.
Fairly early in the 90s.
Early in the 90s. But I will say that this report is the same way on the real estate side. You know, we've got that difference in terms of the year for renewals, because renewals, you know, the initial licenses when they were issued, the highest number was in that first year.
Right.
So that second year is always fewer.
Absolutely.
It's the same on the real estate side, and we haven't made an adjustment there. We just explained to the commissioners if there's a question that the
Yeah, 'cause
reason for the
it-
rationale for
By
that.
doing a 2-year renewal, but we're comparing at 12-month intervals, like it appears we're 62% lower on renewals. Next year, we'll be up 400% renewals.
Right.
Will be up, yes.
So that's what I'm saying. If we could do it on the 2-year, we'll have a little more accurate knowledge of where our renewals are at.
It won't be these weird.
Exactly.
Does this really
It'll be
tell
high
us?
fluctuation,
And I
low
think
fluctuation.
also, though, with these numbers, one thing that may be important as well is that the percentages that you see to the right of each of those columns, for example, 183, and then you see the 67.77%, that 67.77% is actually telling you that of the renewals that were sent, 67% of those individuals renewed. In 2014, of the renewals that were sent, roughly 73%.
So the only thing really
Actually,
skewed is the
Is
change
that
column.
change percentage?
The
Yes,
change column.
yes. But I can, however you want us to
Well,
do it.
I guess if, on the renewals, if we just look at the separate years and not the change.
Yeah. I didn't know that's what
We've got about a 25% drop off on renewal. And
It appears to be.
That's been pretty consistent.
Just people getting out of business.
Retiring, moving on,
Retired.
burned out.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay.
So moving forward,
Yes.
is there any action you'd like me to take on this
No,
report?
as long as we understand it, I'm,
I didn't know what those other percentages were, so that's.
yeah, so the first two columns for physically, for the 15 and 14, their individual percentages. Looks like they're all down a little bit this year from, say, last year, the percentage of renewals.
Renewals are down, but new applications is up.
Yes.
New licenses.
But what I was talking about is we don't know 176 what that number is as compared to 2 years ago. Like I said, it's that change column is still skewed because it's just 1 year, not 2.
Yes. Do we need it? Do we need to know?
I think it would just give us more accurate information, at least to start establishing possible trends and stuff that's going on. Other than seeing 60% drop here, 200% increase next year, and keep doing that over and over.
But your real number is in,
So those first
Well,
two
First
columns.
two
that's
columns.
that's part of the number. That's just telling you the number of people who actually renewed on that. But at a quick glance, you're not going to remember year to year. Oh, December of next December. Oh yeah, we were at 67%. That, and it just following the years and the trends. Just for numbers' sake, if that change column was done on every 2-year basis, it'd make those numbers a lot more accurate.
Different to track, but
But you'd almost have to bring in a third column.
I was gonna say, that's gonna
Yeah.
change the whole perspective of the report.
Or you'd be showing a percent of change on a column that's not visible.
We can look into this and figure out a way to present the information.
If there's an
best
easy
to
way to
our
do it to where we can just, where that change column can be more reflective of what the actual numbers are, except from this year to last year, because it's just it's not accurate the way it's at.
We can look at it and see what we can come up with.
If it's too much of a pain in the keister, no big deal, but
We can-
if there's a reasonable way that it can work, that'd be great.
We'll revise, see what we can do, and maybe bring 2 for you next time. How about that? And then you can decide if the new one makes sense.
That'll work.
You can do it like a draft one next meeting, and see if that satisfies.
Okay.
Stop.
We'll do.
But it makes sense. I mean, if that's something we're really trying to track and see trends.
Okay.
Okay, license.
The next report is the L2 report. You'll see here that you have a total of 3,317 inspectors as of December. The same time in 2014, we had 3,094. So we see an increase in total inspectors. You'll see that we have a total of 2,793 who are active. And in 2014, there were 2,534 active. So we see a slight increase in the number of inspectors, as well as an increase in the number of inspectors who are choosing to remain in active status.
It's a 10% increase in 1 year.
That's good.
That's what happens when markets good.
Okay.
Okay. The next report is the L3 report, and this is the inspector examination activity. And again, we're comparing 2015 to 2014 fiscal year to date. You'll see that a total of 363 professional inspector examinations were given, which is almost double what was given in 2014, which was 186. You'll see a first attempt pass rate for the professional inspector at almost 47%. And in 2014, that percentage for first attempt pass rate was at 60%.
Now, the pass rate, is that, we're looking at, is there a way to break that down as far as, I'm sorry, I know you can hear me right now, but state versus national?
I do have state versus national percentages for you. Through this fiscal year, the first-time pass rate for professional inspectors on the national portion of the exam was 66%. On the state portion of the exam, it was 73% for professional
It's not
inspectors.
nearly as much as.
Gwen, this is Barbara. Would you repeat that?
Yes. For the national portion of the exam, for first-time passes for professional inspectors was at 66%. First-time pass rate for the state part of the exam was 29%.
Oh, 29. That's
I could have sworn you said 73 too. It's like, okay. It's like, wow, that was.
I'm sorry.
I wrote it down. I wrote 76.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for,
So it is 20?
it is 29%.
I was
That's why our
Which one?
numbers
The
are so
state
low.
is
The
29?
state?
Yes.
National
For the
is
state.
66.
The
29%.
For the state.
The
For the
state's
state,
29?
it's 29%.
And the national is the higher one.
Yes.
For professional.
National's easier.
That's why the average is like 46.
Oh, okay.
So people are getting hung up on the state portion,
Which is the easiest part of the thing.
which is the opposite of what everybody's complaining about.
Yeah.
The emails we're getting are more thinking they have issues with the national.
Right, and that was what this, we were going to have an extended
Yeah.
conversation about that based on some comments from the committee members about the national exam. And remember, that is set by, you know, the National Inspector, was it Home Inspector Exam Board? We only have control over the state questions. We review those yearly or every other year?
Every year.
Every year we
And
review those
just
questions. and
did
we just
them
We just did them in June or July of last year.
Yeah.
And
was it that long ago? And those, yeah, they didn't seem like really tricky or difficult question.
Well, and the issue with that, with the committee members brought to our attention was the changing from Pearson View from PSI, and it's the same exam. I mean, there shouldn't have been any
Just a different
significant change. It's just a different person administering the exam or organization. It's not, the exam hasn't changed. So.
Okay. Okay. Any questions?
Where does that put us with the schools, Mark, that aren't meeting the criteria?
Well, we currently have a new passage rate page on our website for real estate as well as for the inspectors. And as those providers, as it is time for them to renew or to seek reapproval, as a provider, we will be looking at those passage rates and making a determination as to whether or not their approval should be denied.
And that's based on a percentage pass rate, was it not?
Right.
And is there a 4-year or 5-year renewal on?
Yes, it's 4 years
4
for
years.
qualifying, yes.
So we ought to be next year into the full program with that on renewals. And didn't we do that 3 or 4 years ago? Where the commission?
No, they're staggered.
I know they're staggered,
Right.
but everybody will be falling into it on a 4-year renewal.
We won't have any of the old.
We won't be under any hold, they're forever.
Oh, you mean in terms of the
Yes.
courses?
Yes.
Yes,
Oh.
the courses expired December 31. So that what we've got now coming in are new courses based off of the new criteria. And those are what is being approved that exam candidates will have to take.
So is. so
And
when-
if the school doesn't meet that percentage, then they won't be renewed.
Right.
They're subject to.
Subject to.
Subject to,
Well, I thought it was more than subject to. I thought the commission came down on that where if they didn't meet a certain pass rate, they were not gonna be renewed. It wasn't subject to, it was, and he did, because that's the reason we changed the pass rate on our exam.
Right.
To accommodate the schools.
I think that they'll be placed on probation.
'cause
And
you-
then
You had
they'll.
talked about the probation.
Yes.
Right.
And then they'll be given a year. Each year, they're required to submit an annual fee.
So now that we have 2 exams, and the pass rates for the 2 exams are pretty far apart, what does that do to a provider?
Well, while we say 2 exams, it's really just 1 exam.
Well,
With a state portion in it.
so
Yeah.
of the classes they take, if a provider, all of their students are passing the national, but they're failing, say, the Texas portion, does that mean the whole provider goes on probation, or just the portion?
Well, it's all
They're
averaged,
failing on.
it's all averaged in,
Okay.
percentage-wise, so that if you look here, you'll see that, just on the
This is the
This is
inspector,
the
the new
inspectors,
inspector.
okay. You'll see that there are some providers who are, say, for example, subject to probation.
Okay.
So that when they renew their providership or seek reapproval, we will look at this, and if they are under that area that's subject to probation, at that time, we will place them on probation. They will have a year. At the end of that year, they will submit to us, it's an annual fee.
Right.
And at that time, we will again look at their pass rate and see where they are. And if they're still in a problematic area, then they could be subject to revocation.
So that could happen during, say, the first year of their 4-year renewal.
Yes.
If it happens in their last year, and they're up for renewal at the same time as they go on probation, are they given a renewal but on probation?
I believe that's how that would
Okay.
work,
Yeah.
yes.
So you wouldn't be subject to revocation if I'm a brand new provider coming in and I just get my initial approval and I'm getting into the business. The approval term is 4 years, but we look at you every year and when you submit that annual fee that Gwen was referring to. So we're going to look at that number then. After the first year, you're not performing well, then probably at that point, we would send out some kind of, we'd look at it, have something come from an advisory standpoint, may, depending on how you're performing, may be subject to probation at that time, but the revocation wouldn't take place until you have continually performed poorly and you've come up to your 4-year
Right.
accreditation.
I mean,
And
you
at
couldn't
that
be on
point,
probation for multiple years, could you?
Yes.
I think the way that the rule is
So you
written, you
just stay on
could.
probation until your 4-year is up?
Well, there's more,
I don't
There's-
think so. I think there is some room in there for us to make a determination in
Yeah.
terms of what the percentage rates are as to whether or not there's something that can be done to improve them. Or if not, then we would, of course,
You
check
get to
with-
make some judgment.
We get to make a
Right.
judgment call.
How did you address, and we had the discussion once before, students that go to multiple schools, who is getting the thing or the credit for passing? Say I take classes all at one, then I take a prep class.
That's the
Prep-
majority of
Majority.
classes, right? We pass
It's
the majority of classes.
The
that
prep
you take.
course is not approved by the
Well,
commission, so.
But I mean, somebody may move schools.
Yeah,
midway through.
that's calculated. It's based on the school or the provider that they took the majority of their coursework with.
Okay.
That's what's
As
showing up on
opposed
this.
to where it was the last course.
Right,
Yeah,
which
we
was
changed,
not
we changed that this last year.
correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
So,
May I ask a question? When a student is looking to take courses from any of these schools, is there somewhere they can go that they see this information?
Our website.
this is on the
Mhm.
website
This
right
is on
now.
the
Yes,
website.
ma'am.
So when they go and look at the list of providers, it gives,
Yes.
this is how many students pass. And this is how
That's
many-
one of the primary goals for this is to give information to people who are seeking to get education
Okay.
moving forward. So they have an idea of where
So
where
they
the
know if the
provider.
school that they're trying to get their education from is on
Correct.
probation?
Correct.
Okay.
Does it actually say probation or just give a low percentage?
It says in
Oh,
good
I see.
standing, subject to probation, and subject to revocation.
So it gives you all, like you say, for a student, you can see the school that teaches 2 students or 200.
Right, correct.
Now, is this just fiscal year 2016? Is that what these numbers reflect, or are they previous year, or?
It
how
goes
far
back,
do
it
you go?
goes back 2 years. Let's see,
Okay.
it's explaining.
Says
Oh,
14.
114 to 1215.
Right, and we used to, as a courtesy, show universities on there, but we don't have any jurisdiction over universities. So this is providers we have jurisdiction over. That's what's on the website here, the ones that are approved by the commission to provide education to inspectors.
Is that the only page?
For inspectors, it is. There's one for.
That's it? That's all the providers for inspector courses?
No, there's, if you remember, the rule going forward, there's no longer the requirement that if you teach correspondence courses, you have to be tied to a university. So, because of that relationship in the past, there's information in the system that's tied to the university we're unable to,
So this list will populate a lot
it'll
more now that
pop,
we've changed.
yes,
the
sir,
rules.
yes, sir,
Okay.
it will.
All right.
I mean, I don't see anybody.
I have a question, Dave.
I'm an inspector. I do this.
Just say education.
Are you looking for it on the website?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's-
education exams, and
Yeah.
then like the third or fourth one down.
Mhm.
If you go to the education main
That's
page,
wrong. I hit the wrong. I hit
it's the fourth thing on the, and we are in the process, I know I say this a lot, but we're in the process of redoing the website. It will be much more intuitive going forward.
Been hearing that line for a while.
We're already looking at
Mr.
the
Reinhardt?
language for it.
Mr.
You had a question?
I got a question. Has you reinstalled the, on the pull-down page, you have the source for inspectors?
I,
Yeah, it's been inactive for the last 3 or 4 years, you know, so it's been under construction.
okay.
Has it been fixed yet or
I
not?
didn't hear him.
It's the
No, it has
instructor
to do with the
page.
instructor page. No, we're waiting for our website,
All right, thank you.
yes,
Oh, that's all fixed with the new.
with the new, yes.
Do we have a launch date for that?
Do we have a what?
Launch date
Launch
for the new
date?
website?
I know that we're trying to have some things ready for the commission meeting on
Right.
Monday.
Next week?
There's
Right.
gonna be,
At
it's
least-
gonna be in stages. It's gonna be rolled out in stages.
First stage of it.
Right, the first stage, they're looking at rolling out fairly soon.
Stage, you mean that we may have parallel websites for a while?
Well, no, it'll be one website, but some of it may point back to the
Those
way,
pages.
yeah, or this information.
Okay.
I apologize,
the
I don't know
new-
enough about the IT process to really speak confidently about
Well,
what's going forward, but.
When the administrator briefed us on everything in his wish list on the website, it's believable that it's going to take a while to get it all going.
Right.
But everything from the inspector search, which would probably be the biggest thing on our side, is to be able to have home buyers search for inspectors.
Right.
Which we've never had.
I know that's
It's a
a
phone
goal
call
moving
usually.
forward, yeah,
What do you
it's a
know?
goal moving forward, so, definitely.
Yes. And that's what they're looking at, is zip code and then a radius.
Is the guest Wi-Fi down? Because I can't hit our website.
I'm on it.
Yeah, I don't know, it's been a little wonky today, I apologize.
Is that all of education?
No, there's one more.
One more.
But I did want to make sure that did the inspectors who had some concerns about the exam, I wanted to make sure we addressed those concerns since.
Is this the part where we were talking about? the
Yeah, I
exam?
mean-
Is that, well, I mean, that's actually a next agenda item, isn't that?
No, remember you
okay.
had wanted an expanded report to answer some questions about the national exam rather than going specifically about whether or not the person
One of the
administering it was.
questions I had, when we're working like with Greg and his subcommittee on looking at the hours for each subjects and things like that, are we able to capture categorically where the inspectors are failing or doing good? Because you fail a test, it doesn't tell you which question, it says you're failing plumbing, or you're failing roofing. Can we capture that as an aggregate to provide to schools to say, okay, they're passing, or they're passing at a 60% rate, but where they're failing at is structural stuff?
They do get, when they fail the exam, they do fail or pass. They get a score report
As an individual,
as an individual.
can we get as an aggregate how our applicants are,
We should be
where
able-
they're
We
failing?
should be able to get that information.
But that would be good for schools to say, I mean, unless they do an interview with every applicant on what they passed or failed, all they know is, I got an 82. Well, was the 18% all in electrical?
Because in the end, doesn't it tell you like you get 100% structural, but you got 60% in plumbing and that type of stuff when you finish your test?
Yes.
Yes.
So that they've already categorized that information, so
Yes.
to pull that from Pearson.
That's
It
why I
should
was
be that
wondering
hard.
if that's available for us, because I mean, one of the things we were talking about the education committee is talking about structuring or maybe moving around some of the hour requirements.
Based on
And it could be based on the results of the test. Our students they're doing real good structural, but they're failing electrical, and maybe we need to
Muted.
beef up the electrical, move the hours around.
Yes.
I think that's definitely
Yes.
a way to move forward in looking, a very good way to move forward, looking at where the hours ought to be concentrated is getting
Yes.
that information.
Because education is big, and we're over-educating compared to other
Unmuted.
states.
Yeah, no, I think moving forward, we'll definitely try to get that information for the education subcommittee and have that as information in front of them to determine, you
It'd be
know.
good for the schools,
No, definitely.
because if they can key on the categories that the applicants are failing, everybody's pass rate would benefit.
Was someone on the phone wanting to speak?
Yes, this is Stan Harbuck. I didn't see our school listed in any of those categories on the earlier table. Is there a reason for that?
Mr. Harbuck, I believe it has to do with how your school is attached to the university. And if you have questions about that, we can talk about it after the meeting and you can get a better explanation for that.
Thank you.
May I ask another question, and this might just be something that was discussed committees before?
Sure.
But who sets the exam fees? Is that TREC, or is that
Proctor.
the exam?
The fees are determined during the RFP, a request for proposals when we submit our contracts out to be bidded upon, to be looked at. And then the companies come back and they say, this is what our fee is going to be.
So it's $220 or whatever it was in that email that we got.
Right, it's
Is that-
$220 for both parts of the exam. If they fail the Texas-specific portion, in order to retake that, they pay $60. However, if they fail the national portion, they're having to pay the full $220.
$220 again. That's pretty high.
Motivation.
Well, no, I understand that, I just, it's just,
The fee is actually set by the commission,
No,
based on the
No.
proposal.
no,
No,
it's part
it's-
of their, it's
so
Pearson.
it's the contract
It's part
you
of
have
the
on
Pearson.
the
Right.
exam.
I understand, but the
Okay.
commission had to approve those,
Who got the contract?
and what the fee was gonna be in that contract.
Well, that was part of their proposal.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Indirectly, yes.
Yeah.
We said that.
And it is possible, I'll have to check, but it is possible that the amount of fee for the national exam may have been pre-set anyway. By that, I mean, that could be what it is.
Nationwide.
Nationwide, yes.
And I think I read somewhere that it was. Somebody from some other state was having the same conversation.
I can find
That's
out.
easy enough to find out. We can
Yeah.
send an email out to you guys after the meeting to just clarify that if you want it.
Yeah, I just didn't know it, but I wasn't aware of what the fee, taking a test. I wasn't aware of what the fees
Right.
were until we received that information.
Okay.
I had an apprentice who took it a couple of times, and he reminded me.
Yeah, it's pretty expensive as
Okay.
an apprentice to do that.
All right.
In looking at the instructor distribution, I know we've had some conversations about qualifying people to teach the legal and ethics, and I know that we haven't had, we don't have Texas A&M doing the classes like they do on the real estate side, because obviously the numbers are just substantially different. But I can't seem to get anybody who has kind of a clear answer on how do you qualify on the inspector side for being a legal and ethics instructor. I mean, where would you go? I mean, because I'm a legal and ethics instructor on the real estate side. I go to that class after the legislative session. You go through that class and so on and so forth. A&M puts that on in different cities in the state, but you don't have that option on the inspector side. So I've been curious, and I've had other people who've been curious. How do they become instructors for legal and ethics on the inspector side? Where are our options for that?
What are the qualifications?
Well, if you're talking about like in a train the trainer course, we don't have that, but we still have in our rules minimum qualifying requirements to be considered qualified to teach the SOP legal ethics update. Is that what you're referring to?
I guess so, because I'm licensed to teach everything except for the legal and ethics on the inspector side. Qualifying courses for agents and inspectors.
Okay.
But I just haven't been able to get a clear answer on the inspector side because there's no train-the-trainer course.
The qualifications are, is it 5 years of active professional licensure?
The same as core.
3 years of, teaching or training experience.
So on the real estate side, you have to actually take the train-the-trainer course. On the inspection side, you just submit the application.
It's the same criteria, you
Okay.
just have the instructor training for the legal ethics on the real estate side.
Okay.
Wasn't it 5 years and with the ability to train?
Sponsor.
Yeah, sponsor.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're correct.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Any questions from any members on the phone? Okay.
Those are ride-alongs went up by double over last year. Our ride-along instructors.
40 versus 21.
Wow.
And we've doubled the number of ride-along course instructors over the last year. People realized that we weren't going to extend the date anymore.
Oh, okay.
That is what happened.
It works. So
Supply and demand.
right, so that is that, I don't want to step on your,
No, if there are no other questions in regards to the L reports.
No. I think getting some of that aggregate information and be able to share it with the education committee as they look at the hours would be good.
so if I may just take, since Mr. Olmec is not here, if I could take the opportunity just to briefly mention a few things kind of overarching where the
Okay.
AMS report would be. One is just to remind everyone here that today is the deadline for the new consumer notice requirements for inspectors. In other words, we promulgated, you guys have seen all that, voted on it, promulgated a new consumer notice form that explains about the ability to file a complaint and also the recovery fund. And it's on the website, and today, as of today, that notice is effective. So you're required to use.
That's the part where we need to have a link on our website.
Yeah, all of that rule as well, yes. Link on the website, and it needs to be posted in your place of business as well, the new,
First page,
yes.
front page.
A link on the first page.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Very important.
So, just a reminder about that. And number two, I just wanted to again stress, or just mention again that we are going to be looking rather intently over the next year or so with, making some changes to the qualifying education requirements, trying to make them better, more meaningful, streamline some of them. What's within the power and authority of the, I shouldn't say power, the authority of the agency in terms of what we can do via rulemaking versus a statutory change.
Are we
So,
talking hours or subjects, or both?
Both. It's obviously up to the committee to decide where you want to go, but that's the process is going to start. Now that we have we have an idea of what the leadership's going to be and moving forward, depending on what the education subcommittee's makeup is, we'll move forward on that. And as we discussed at the last meeting, that having a more of an expanded role for them and inviting providers in and having more of a working group type session to try to vet some of those ideas. Get everyone involved, all the stakeholders involved in the process.
I like it.
So, that's all.
Good. Thank you for reminding me about that link.
Where is the link go to? Oh, somewhere on the website. What is the
Yes.
link
You have a link on your website that goes to that new,
To the new form.
Where's the new form?
The new form is.
Form number for that.
It's under miscellaneous forms. If you go to there's a forms and rule page. It's right there.
Just put that in the car.
remember the one you have framed behind the door in your office?
Just gotta put it in your car.
From the 1980s.
Yeah.
Mine's in the 90s.
So if you go, yeah, it's under miscellaneous forms. If you go to the forms webpage, then there's a button for miscellaneous. Click on that. It's so forms, laws, and
Right.
And making a link to it on the website.
yeah. And you know what?
is
We'll
smart.
we'll also add a link on the inspector page
Yeah,
too
that-
to it.
That would make it quicker
New-
for consumers. They don't know to go
Right.
under miscellaneous forms to read stuff.
Well, consumers should be
But it's gonna be on
But it's
your
gonna be
consumers
on
should
my
be going to your
but what if
website or
people
also.
were Controlling your website.
No, you're right. We'll wait. We'll put it on. I'll put it on the inspector page as well, so that you guys can find it
So is it
easier.
the
It's a number.
CIF 11?
It's a CN1
CN1.
CN1-2.
1-2.
Yes, ma'am. So, okay.
Jumps on the requirements, gotta have, so, I think it's 12 pixel font.
10-point. 10-point font. Yes,
What's that?
10-point font. The
Everything's
link is in
10-point
10-point
font
font.
in our
Oh, the link.
I believe so.
Just like our report's gotta be 10.
Yeah.
Does the link have to say anything specific?
It's got a
Yes.
text. It's called I'll pull it up. Let me pull it up here.
I mean, there's a model of what the link should say.
Texas Real Estate Consumer Protection.
Thank you, sir. Yes, Texas
So
Real Estate
basically,
Consumer
it's-
Protection Notice is
The
what the
link
link
would
should say.
basically say the name of the form.
Right, I think it's consumer notice.
It
Dave.
says
The link
consumer.
says Texas Real Estate commission consumer notice, I believe is what it's called.
Protection.
Protection, thank you, consumer protection notice.
All righty. Here's what you can do.
So I will, I'll put that information on the inspector page so that the license holders can get access to it easier.
And will something, does Trek ever send out these notifications to individual inspectors saying, hey, don't forget?
Well, we put something in the advisor, I mean, the insight last time, and there'll be something in the insight this time reminding people as well.
Oh, okay.
So,
Anything else that happened in addition to, say, that form, that inspectors?
No, just the next item on the agenda, the form, the fee rule, but that's not anything
Okay.
that's troubling, I should say. Should be.
Is that
It's agenda item
is that
7.
all of the staff report?
Sorry.
Number 7, agenda item 7, discuss some possible action regarding comments concerning amendments to 535.210.
We received no comments for this rule, as of this day.
Well, it's because the fees went down, right?
This is a benefit to the providers, definitely. So.
That's why you didn't receive any comments.
And this rule was proposed in the November meeting. There was a statutory change that prompted it, and it had been done on the real estate side already, and it was just missed on the inspector side. So this was to get the inspector fee rules in line with consistent with the real estate side of things for providers.
And make note of your new logo up there.
Communist.
Anyway, yes, that's most likely why there were no comments, was that it's definitely a benefit to the providers. So. But yeah, as of this day, no comments.
Is there any action that's
Not,
required?
no, unless you guys have
Any comments on the phone contacts?
We're fine with it.
Okay,
No comments.
okay. Well, we're down to number 8, future meeting and agenda items. Now, we were discussing earlier, is that something we need to put on?
the
agenda?
hydrostatic pressure testing.
That and maybe anything else similar, but I got an email, Catherine or somebody, talking about, I guess, is this something that was recently added, you say, to the real estate side?
The new 1 to 4 family contract specifies that you have to have written seller permission to perform a hydrostatic test on the property, which was not.
In
there.
addition to everything else they've signed to list the house.
And before I was interrupted, where I was going with that is, somebody not in the room, mind you, that my next question was, if you recall back when the Chapter 766 of the Health and Safety Code, Letitia Vanderpute's brother died, we put all that in there about the smoke detectors that were so confusing to many people. My inspector friend said it caused them some heartache. Is there an appetite for you guys, on the ground, face to face, for there to be additional forms or additional language clarifying this hydrostatic testing thing, or is it such a small part of your business or of your potential business that we should leave well enough alone with what we've already done? Now, that's where I was going before I got the door slammed.
Me personally, I think we will on the floor.
I agree with that. It's not on every, it's
Well,
not
see,
every
there's-
inspection. It's.
We're seeing a number of suggestions, and I'm just forwarding them on to the broker lawyer, but I'm trying to get a feel for some of this, and this last one had some pretty stiff language in here that I think causes, like I said, an odor, some discomfort, but I think it puts you guys in a defensive position, trying to make decisions about risk associated with static testing, further agree, and then they're going to be asking you questions that I really don't think, based on that Lubbock complaint with the plumbers examiners, that you guys, what I'm hearing is you don't want to get mixed up in that deal.
Well, let's put that on our agenda
Yep.
and find out what
Good.
kind of
Yeah.
background
Is-
information.
Is that something that you want to vet through the SOP committee first, or is it okay to do full committee?
The full committee.
Okay. All right. I will happily get information to bring back to them.
Well, here's the latest one we got on Thursday. This is from an attorney in Lubbock. I will say to you, I can go back to search, I've probably had 4 other suggestions like this. And personally, I think what we did and what Broker Lawyer did in the 1 to 4 that you perfectly brought up is about where you should say, move on. Get somebody, because all we're gonna do is cross swords with anything you say with the plumbers.
So what is it they're recommending there? Is that recommending action for Trek?
Well, what they're recommending is either an additional form or additional language be put in the 1 to 4 that the seller authorizes to hire a licensed plumber, goes on to say that the plumber or the buyer shall be responsible for all fees, but then it starts to get a little sticky where it says acknowledge they are aware of the risk associated and further agree that the buyer seller shall be liable. It's just using terms that I think they're going to be, as a consumer, I can't help but believe I wouldn't ask questions, and I'm not sure that you guys, just talk about the experience with Chapter 766 with the smoke detectors. Is that something you felt like was clear enough you wanted to wade into? Because we had a lot of pushback on that.
So they're saying that the sellers are responsible. for
Seller
that.
or buyer, it's a
Our buyer can
negotiable
go either
thing.
way.
But it had to have
Right.
seller's permission
Right.
to do it.
Well, that's what Lee brought up. That's how we've handled it up till now. But this guy's wanting to take it further than that.
That's
Well, we-
outside of the venue of what we do.
And that was my whole reason for that questions a while ago about telling me what you're doing. And is there a place where you just say,
Well, I mean, I've seen, okay, so a seller is giving permission to a buyer to inspect the house. Would that include things beyond the scope of a home inspector? Like, can the buyer hire an electrician to do a survey of the house? Can he hire a plumber to do it? Does he have to get permission from the seller?
No, the only thing you have to have
I
written,
mean,
No, it's in the- it's
only
in
thing you have to have
paragraph 7.
separate written permission is for a hydrostatic test. That's
So
part
a
of the new
plumber can
contract.
do everything else, but he can't do the pressure
but the
test.
point of this
Without
was
permission.
that
Because it can blow it all apart.
Not only can, it will.
And it-
that there were a number of
Yeah.
anecdotal results coming from damages.
Yes.
And that's the reason, in what you just brought up, that's the reason that was inserted was, don't go beyond this without everybody approving it, knowing that there are risks associated.
Yes, that makes sense.
But this takes it a whole lot further. And I think it does nothing but put you guys on the front line of something that I don't think,
It
I
over-
hear you say you're that
We'll
comfortable.
put that on the agenda.
Overcomplicates the
'cause,
process.
Yeah, we need to think about
Well, thank you. That's
where
I
we
was
want to
headed
go
all
with that.
Okay.
And whatever information you have that would,
Well, they've got it. Broker lawyer's got it.
can
General
that,
counsel's got it.
can that be shared with us?
Hey, I don't see why not.
I don't see why not.
No, I mean, it's,
That can be
And
some of the
I-
materials to give us some
I don't know that it's
background
gonna
of what's
help you
going on.
that much, but I think it's more about you saying, that's down the road, we're not gonna deal with that. That's another license holder to deal with that.
Good, we'll talk about it on the next.
Yes.
That's what I was hoping to hear you say a while ago.
Yes. It will be on the agenda. Anything else happening with the inspectors? If you want to put on the agenda. Anything from those on the phone that would like to talk about on the agenda for next meeting?
Just continuing to pursue these education in-depth sessions we're going to have.
You want to put on the agenda maybe the results or if the status of maybe finding what we can find on the aggregate scores in subject areas?
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
something we might have by the next quarter?
Oh, yeah, I don't see
Yeah.
much.
Let's talk about that and how that may affect where we steer the hours in our training.
And I would imagine prior to the next meeting, there'll be at least one education subcommittee meeting, I would think.
And if you can feed him some of those. so
Yo,
he can
definitely,
kinda
no,
look-
definitely, that'll be part of the whole process.
What do
of
you,
moving
what do you
forward
think,
on
Greg?
I'm looking forward to more information, and then we'll just see whoever's on the education committee, whether it's me or whoever else is on there. You know,
Okay,
it is right now on the education subcommittee's agenda to look at the hours and try to see if currently the hours that they're required for each area is accurate. And I think having these test question results will help tremendously with it.
yes. Because it might give some weight to areas that we didn't think we had a problem with.
Exactly. Give us some direction.
Yes. Okay. Any other subjects? Anything on enforcement side? Still reviewing SOP?
We're pretty close to being done.
Well, we've got, yeah, the review that the subcommittee did, it's been, you know, we have a document that's been reorganized. I believe, I think many subcommittee would say this as well, it's much easier to read and dealt with some issues.
Is it far enough to bring the full committee?
It's up to the.
I think we'll probably have a subcommittee for that, but I think that's probably reasonable to put it on the next full one, because I think for myself, I think we've gone through our due diligence for the last year and a half. Let's close this one out, stop this review, submit the changes that we have, and then if we want to start another review, we can do that later on this year. But let's actually close this process out, finalize what we've done, and then we can start over if there are other things that people want to bring up.
So we could set another SOP set a SOP subcommittee meeting prior to the next inspector.
And then have this on the full.
We'll probably have a SOP and an education
Education.
subcommittee between now and the next one. Okay. Anything else from staff, things we need to put on there?
Not as of right now.
Okay. Meeting dates. Anything we need to work around?
When is the next commission meeting?
May 16th.
May 16th is the next commission meeting, so sometime prior to that. And it's good if there's an issue that needs to be put on the agenda, that you give staff enough time to put that on the agenda. Usually goes out 10 days prior to the meeting, so that'd be May 7th. So maybe meeting the end of April sometime.
Monday, May 2nd is a Monday.
For April?
When's the commission meeting?
It's the 7th.
16th of May, 16th?
See, Monday's my best. I can drive down Sunday night after work.
Oh, so it's all about you.
Absolutely.
Friday.
Well, and Brad.
The last week of April, first week of May, any conflicts with those on the phone?
Would we keep it on a Monday?
Yes.
Okay.
The second's fine with me.
May 2nd? How's May 2nd sound?
Let's see.
1 second.
Sounds good to me. I'm clear. This is Matt.
It's good for me.
Look up one.
This is Greg. I'm good with the second.
Okay. May 2nd, 9 o'clock.
Well, the commissioner is looking at.
Hold that thought.
I'm good with May 2nd as well.
Well, you may want to say, you may not want to say 9 because you're also before that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Can you get in?
Yes,
Tony,
sir, I
Can
can.
you get into the website and tell me when the next local law your meeting is?
I don't show anything on the agenda prior to the commission meeting except for education, ASAC meeting on the 18th.
The only reason I was doing that is let them kind of vet this thing through their system. I don't see a lot of traction here from you guys especially.
Typically, they don't meet that often except to deal with legislative issues that come about, so.
Right, you're exactly right.
So I wouldn't think there'd be another meeting prior to the May commission meeting.
I don't see this as a big deal, but I certainly want to put it in front of you guys.
There's not one scheduled.
I think it's so isolated.
So does this chair disappeared?
Recommend.
Does May 2nd work for you?
Yes.
Okay. So May 2nd works for everyone, Mr. Chair?
May 2nd still works?
Yes, sir.
Was there a possible conflict?
No, we were just checking that out. There's not a conflict, so.
No, we're gonna do 9 o'clock.
I
Well-
think the subcommittees meet before.
Are we?
Subcommittee can meet at 7, real easy.
7.
Do we, wait.
That's why we get along.
Do we want to have the subcommittee meeting the same? I know it's easier for you guys to all come down, that we could do that. I mean, it's a busy day when we do that, but we're here to serve.
We can do a teleconference before. I don't have.
I was gonna say if you do them ahead.
Yeah, we can do a teleconference before.
It just gives a little bit more, in case issues come up that need to be presented, so,
Because
okay.
sometimes you have to research something before.
Right, so 9 a.m. on May 2nd, does that work for everybody?
That's what I've got.
9:30?
Please.
I'd say 7. That's my thing.
Yeah.
Get it before traffic.
Earlier is a problem with you guys.
No, it's not a problem with us at all.
Tony,
Yes, ma'am.
Tony, this is Kristen.
Yes, ma'am.
If we're going to have subcommittee meetings the morning before, then the full committee meeting should be at 10.
Yeah, we're not going to, Kristen. We're gonna schedule those ahead of that meeting. They'll be
Just
before.
wanted to clarify.
It just gets too busy when we try to do subcommittee and full committee
Yeah.
the same day.
So 9 a.m. or 9:30 or
Well, if we're gonna have actually a few things on the agenda.
yeah, most likely 9 a.m.
9 a.m.
Okay. I will put it in the books. 9 a.m.
9 a.m., May 2nd.
May 2nd.
And we're expecting 2 subcommittee meetings.
Prior to that, yes. And I'll talk to depending on who the committee chairs are, I'll talk to them ahead of time and then we will,
Because like the education the date would be based on when you can get some of that information to them.
and I can't imagine it. I mean, I don't want to speak out of turn that it'll be that difficult to get that information.
I don't think it will be.
So, yeah.
Okay.
We redid all those hours 2 years ago.
We did based on,
Reevaluated and changed some of those hours. Was it 2 years or less?
it was 2 years based on, I think, a legislative change maybe or something else. I
Well,
can't
some of it was
remember.
legislative and some of it, we were trying to evaluate where the weaknesses were.
Correct.
And then we changed some of them.
Correct.
The hours requirement in core.
But we
Yeah.
were kind of guessing.
Yeah, and this will
Well,
give a
yeah,
little bit,
and
this
give
will
us
give
a
a little
little
bit
bit, see
more.
if we were close to
Right,
right.
correct. So,
We did it when we added the 40-hour.
yes, that's what it was.
Yeah, we restructured.
That's right.
That's right.
So it wasn't based on scores. It was
Right.
based on
We didn't have any data.
integrating the
Right.
right program.
Try to get some consistency and quality.
Okay. So we have May 2nd. Anything else we need to schedule?
No,
We got full commission is next Monday.
next Monday, yes, sir, week from today.
You
And
know, if you come, you get credit for CE. As a real estate license holder. No, as a real estate license holder. You come to our meeting.
I did,
Well, how come inspectors don't?
Get better
You know what,
lobbyists.
that's
You
something
don't
we
have any
could,
lobbyists.
that was something we talked about before.
we did talk,
We could possibly.
we could
put
add that,
on
if you want to
future
add that, we did talk about that a little bit, that it's been brought up before about providing
CE credit.
CE credit.
Then we ought to go retroactive about 20 years.
Go way back.
That's over my head, Brad.
We're losing control.
So if you wanted to add that as well, we could put that bring that up again if there was an interest in talking about having a meeting like that. I mean, these meetings are short, so it depends on, we'd have to.
I mean, it could be just a set 1 hour.
Okay, well, we can discuss it if you guys want to move forward on that.
Because you wouldn't want to max it out. You learn the familiarization of how the system works. And that's
Right. Right.
It's worth conversation.
Okay.
I think the subcommittees sometimes should, I don't know. I think we should talk about it.
Okay. All right. We will add
Yeah.
those on.
Yes, those,
Okay.
those are valuable. Okay. Anything else?
I just want to, just again, since we have everyone on the phone, everyone in the room, we are, Mr. Woods has agreed to continue on as a public member until replaced. So we are looking for a new public member to the inspector committee. If anyone has any ideas of someone that would be good in that position, have them submit an application to us and a resume, or not an application, email email saying they want to do it in a resume.
Would that be the continuation of that 2-year term?
Well, if you remember, he was staggered. He had a 1 year. His term ended as of today. As of today, we don't have a replacement. He notified us that he's willing to continue to serve until he's replaced, but he does not want to continue on for another 2-year term.
term.
Right. So this would be for a
So it'd
2-year
be for a
public.
2-year
Yes, sir.
term.
It
Okay.
would be. And then the next 2 public members would be off next February. Yes, sir. So I just wanted to get that out there. If anyone knows of anyone, let us know, or let them contact us. I'm happy to talk to anyone about the process.
Okay. We can officially adjourn. Have a gin.
Someone wants that drink.
All right.
A little early.
All right.
10:26.
10:26. Thank you, everybody.